Hey guys, it's Chris here with Bluewater Cruising for the second episode of the Bluewater Cruising podcast, where we are sitting down with people that have made the transition to cruising and figuring out the story behind it, how they do it, what was it like, how they do it, what's it like now. And I'm super excited today. Sitting down with Morgan and Darren Gallagher. They've got an amazing story coming from Alaska, where it's freezing cold, I think, at the moment. And they just purchased a boat in Grenada, right? Grenada. I always say it the wrong way.
Yep.
Grenada. So they're going from freezing cold to super warm, and I think they're super excited about it. We'll hear from them. So just a bit of a background on these guys. One of the things I found super cool about you guys is you're both musicians, professional musicians, which is amazing. And you kind of the typical American thing in a way, spent a lot of time working and having fun, I'm sure, along the way, which I'd like to hear about. And you have now made the big transition and you're out cruising or about to go out cruising. So maybe the first question that I would have for you guys is, how long have you been thinking about this for? How long has this been something before you pulled the trigger to do it, that you were mulling the idea around your head and thought that it was something you might like to do?
It's been a long time. Then eventually COVID hit, and a good friend of mine was like, "Hey, I found this really cool channel. You got to check it out. It's called Delos." And I'm like, "Okay, what?" And I'm like, "What is it about?" And he's like, "Well, you remember how you were telling me about that sailing dream you had a long time ago?" And I said, "Yeah." And boom, like it opened everything wide open again. And I'll let Darren step in.
It turned me on to sailing for the first time, because I'd never really thought much about sailing, but I totally loved the ocean. I used to live in Huntington Beach, Long Beach area. I used to go to the beach every weekend. I loved being in the ocean and the salt and the sand and the sun, and I really, really miss it since I've been up here for like 40 years. And when we saw the Delos stuff, that guy sold like everything he owned and threw it all in a boat and just took off. And I thought like to myself, hey, I could probably do that. It was a little scary and daunting initially, but after we watched all the different sailing shows, we watched you guys, we watched Satara, we watched Vagabond, we watched maybe every sailing show out there.
Bits and pieces of them all,
and it just kind of helped build our confidence that we could possibly do this. And it just seemed like, hey, it's good for me. I'm tired of being cold and freezing in Alaska.
Right.
Let's go for an adventure. So.
Well, and I will say that the moment that we for sure knew that this was like, okay, we're going to do this, was during the financial chapter in Bluewater Cruising in the class online. And as soon as we had everything mapped out and you could see it all in black and white,
yeah, we could do this financially.
We were like, we're going to pull the trigger. Let's do this. Like, we can actually do this. So, yeah. Done deal.
So I have a question around that then, because so you said that the financial module that we put on, where we kind of go over a bit of an overview and a framework. What was there anything in particular that prevented you guys from doing that before? Like what was it about the class that gave you and what the exercise that we go through around that gave you the clarity?
It was just the framework of all of it. I think you think in your head it's this romantic, idea of, oh, I'd love to be able to do that, but oh gosh, there's no way, And you think of maybe all the assets that you have, whether you own a business or, rental incomes or even just the little stuff that adds up along the way. And I think once you put all of it down in black and white and you realize what your assets are versus what's going out and how you could shimmy things around if you really wanted to, and what what are you willing to give up? You know what I mean?
And you guys also presented it in an aspect of you can be like on the bottom edge of income and live
like the three tiers.
You could be in the middle and kind of live a little better, and depending on what you want to spend, and then you can go whole hog and
luxury it all the way around.
all the way. And that kind of gave us a base of where we want to go.
Right.
And it was kind of right in the middle.
Yep.
So it was like it was having a framework to work within that kind of prompted the idea that, and then you could lay it all out and be like, hey, we actually can do this.
We did the spreadsheet. And you guys presented, and it came out, and we can do this.
That's super exciting.
Thanks. See, it's all your guys' fault.
And also, the first time we tried to buy a boat, we tried to go through financing.
Okay.
And even though I had the money to back up what we were wanting the loan for, they wouldn't give us a loan. And it kind of saved our ass, actually, because we would have bought the wrong boat.
The boat that we didn't know we didn't want yet.
The boat you didn't know that you didn't want.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. The boat we got now is a much better deal.
Yeah.
Probably about the same price range and a lot bigger, better boat. Range.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Amazing. So I want to back up a little bit. What led you to this? Because I think there's a conception out there that you need to maybe be somewhat mechanically inclined, or you need to be somewhat of a sailor, or you need to have, some sort of skill set to buy a boat and go sailing. And I think it's a myth. It's a misconception. So I wanted to hear what your background is and what led you to this.
You want me to go first?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I am kind of OCD. I could say I was a facilities manager for a major credit union up here, so I was all into fixing buildings and HVAC stuff and just a little bit of everything. I worked on my own cars, changed my own oil. Jack of all trades, master of none. And when I first came to Alaska, I became a professional musician right away because it was the end of the pipeline, Trans-Alaska Pipeline, and there was like a boom town here. There were 7 bars and walking area downtown that all had live bands in them. So I got gainfully employed playing musical instruments for a good 2, 3, 5 years maybe before I got my regular day job. And then I did both actually for about a year and a half, which was really a lot of money I made, but I spent it all. But my job in the facilities management area at a credit union up here, I just packed all my money as much as I could in my 401k. They had a 401k program, a pension program, a great medical dental insurance program, and I just packed the maximum I could in my 401k for a good 20 years. And when I retired from the credit union, I had a nice enough big nest egg to throw it down on a down payment for a boat. And that in itself is really scary, to spend all your life savings on a boat. But the boat we bought is so nice that I figure we can sell it, that if everything hits the fan and we can't do this, we could sell the boat and at least make our money back. Yeah. If not, make more money on it.
Okay.
Because we're going to improve it as soon as we get it. So that's the kind of thing that made it okay for me to do it, the deal.
Okay.
That's
amazing. And Morgan, on your side of things?
So on my side of things, I had been raised on lakes in Oklahoma and Arkansas my entire life. I was on the water for the most of my young years, but not on a sailboat per se, but fishing boats, pontoon boats, jet skis, like all the toys and all the extras and stuff. But I love the water. And once we were in Alaska, the vacations send you to the ocean because we're landlocked up here in Fairbanks, so you don't get a lot of ocean up here. But once we hit the ocean, I was in so much trouble. I'm like, just leave me here. I don't want to go back to Alaska. You can leave me in Florida. You can come visit, whatever. So being able to watch some of the stuff from Delos to Zatara to all the sailing channels and seeing, I'm like, these people are living my dream. I want to do that. Why can't we do that? And so we're watching and enjoying everything, and eventually, stumble onto Bluewater Cruising, going through you guys' training. It set us up to know that what we were doing was attainable, and made us push the go button.
Cool, very cool.
Yeah.
I got a question on so Darren, you mentioned on the finances thing, you sucked, because I think a lot of people have questions around that. How do people afford this? How do they, make it work financially. So you socked a bunch of money away into the IRA. If you're open to sharing, did you take that out then to buy the boat out of the?
Yes. I had a 401k, and then when I left the credit union, I had a financial advisor at the time, and he was managing my 401k, not
right
per se, but I took the 401k and they kind of managed it, rolled it over into an IRA, and it's been in there for like 20 something years, earning some big interest. So I'd have to go back and see how much money I actually earned on it, but. And, and the financial stuff just kind of took a dive the last year or so. So I kind of lost a little bit of money here, right? And I'm figuring I'm losing my money. Why not just buy a boat anyway?
Yeah.
And that it was a little scary, but it's like I said, it's like it's kind of like an investment. I didn't spend all my money. She helped too. She had some rental properties that she sold, so we kind of went in. Yeah. A little like 50-50, and it didn't break our bank, so we still have some reserves left.
Okay.
And it worked out great.
Okay, so you used some money from basically investments you had, investments in your IRA, you had investments, rental property, and you sold some of those to make it work. And then what is your plan as far as when you said you worked out the financial framework and you realized you could afford the lifestyle? What is are you guys be planning to work? Are you living off of investment income? What's the plan around that?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
So I had 4 investment properties or rentals all together. I sold 2, and that's going to help me with the rentals that we're keeping and stuff, and still being able to make a little bit of money to pay for fuel, because it's expensive.
And I was fortunate that the credit union I worked at had a pension program.
Yeah.
I was fully vested after 5 years. So I get a pension from my employer for the rest of my life until I die. And I just qualified for Social Security last year in October, so I get Social Security too. So I've got income coming to me. Maybe, I'm trying to think, it's not too bad, almost $50,000 a year or more.
Okay.
Just on my Social Security. So
okay, yeah. So
and I don't have to do a thing.
So he's not allowed to do anything dangerous on the boat at
all. She's climbing the mast.
Hopefully he's well insured.
I'm afraid I'm really kind of looking forward to going up the mast.
To see how much you can handle. That's funny.
Oh yeah,
it's
going to be fun.
Amazing, guys. I mean, it sounds like you're super well set to make this happen. I mean, that's those numbers are more than enough to live a nice life.
It's not
cruising.
Easy though. I mean, to be able to figure all of that out and to like play with numbers and shimmy things around, and it's scary. I'll tell you that for sure. Like, there have been many nights that I've been laying awake going, okay, what if I do this? And how if I do this? And it's like back and forth.
What have I done? Oh, no, I bought a boat,
Change in the unknown, right? The unknown is always scary when you make a change, especially a big change to something financial that you've been contributing to for 20 years or something.
Whole life,
And, my mom is still alive. She lives here in Alaska, up in Fairbanks. She's like 90. And she was a registered nurse, and she worked for the state, and she probably has a really nice retirement program, but she stayed up here, and just kind of like I'd get the hell out of here.
Yeah, he's looking at her and he's like, I don't want to stay up here that long.
I don't want to stay up here
and
be up here
cold.
and be 90 years old watching TV in a chair all day. That's not going to get me out of here. So I'm ready to go.
Okay. So we've talked a little bit about how it's scary, right? Like, it's making these decisions are not easy decisions to make. What do you think the biggest difference was? Because there's some people that they'll go and they'll start to lean into this and try to figure some stuff out, and they want to do it. It's the dream. There's more and more now. I think one of the things that resonated with me, what you said, was this whole the YouTube, where you got inspired through YouTube, and there's more and more people now that watch these YouTube sailing channels, and they're like, I want to do that. And so what's the difference between, like, what made you guys be okay with the fear and to essentially like take a bit of a leap of faith into the unknown. What was that? What do you think in your minds was the difference?
Oh, I'm gonna say, actually, your Bluewater Cruising class is what kind of got me over the fear factor of the whole thing. Once we put everything down on paper and did all our finances and all that stuff, and just making the big leap is the big thing, because that's kind of how we ended up together.
Yeah.
Because when we met each other, we were both married, and it was a lot of back and forth before we just decided to, like, let's just jump with both feet and go. And we did, and here we are. And what's the heck? Let's do it again. It worked out great the first time. Let's do it again.
I like that, and the thing in that I think that stands out for me is you've made a big decision like that before. I appreciate you saying the course had something to do with it, and if we played a small role in it, that's amazing. But I think it definitely what we put together helps. That's why we put it together. But I also think that there's something in people, like personality wise, or there's something that you can draw on. There has to be something in, like, we can give somebody everything they need to do this, as far as the tools, the strategies, the frameworks, yet they still don't make the decision. And there's got to be something that you can find inside yourself that you're like, I can do this, and that's kind of what I was looking at. Like that's where the question came from. And you answered it in a way, I think, which was this, you've done it before.
I'm totally an adventurer. Always have been. And I think it runs in our family. Like my grandfather worked for Boeing and McDonnell Douglas and set a world record flying a hang glider. And he took off from Northwest Arkansas and flew to the panhandle of Oklahoma. My grandmother thought he had like crashed and died because she didn't hear from him for a few days. So I think that just runs in my family. My dad was a paratrooper, jumped out of airplanes. Like, my little brother's in the Coast Guard, and there's just always this like risk taking, like, okay, we're bored, let's find something else to do kind of thing. And yeah, I think there has to be kind of a risk taking side of people that jump into this and want to go adventure and explore.
Right. That's why when I was a kid, that's probably why I rode BMX bikes without a helmet.
I love it.
I'm like a kid on the street, jumping over everybody, laying on the ground, and all that kind of crazy stuff.
That's why you split your jaw open.
Yeah. I broke my jaw in half skateboarding when I was 18. We had half pipes and swimming pools and all that stuff when we were growing up.
I love it.
In California. So there was always kind of a risk factor involved in excitement in your life.
And the call to adventure.
Yeah,
the call to
absolutely.
adventure.
Other than being on a boat and going sailing and ended up in places where no one's been before, or where there are no people, on a secluded island and stuff. What it can't get better than that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think at the end of the day, it's amazing. And I think it does take real courage, though, to listen to the call and actually follow it. Because I think everybody to some degree has that call to adventure. There's people watch, every single person I ever talk to, if I tell them what I did on a boat, they're like, that's amazing, I want to do that. But very few people do it.
You're an inspiration to us too. It's like, what? You did what?
Yeah, well, you're doing it, and I think it takes real courage to actually do it. Regardless of what the outcome is. It sounds like it's going well so far, but it's amazing. So I want to switch gears a little bit. What would you say? Like, what we've touched on one of them, which is finances. Were there any other big unknowns that you guys were trying to sort out that were roadblocks to you actually taking the leap in the transition?
One of them's got to be family, right? Yeah. I have a 17-year-old daughter who's just getting ready to graduate high school, and there's a huge part of me that's like, oh my God, like, I can't leave her now. Like, she's been with me 24/7 for the past like 3 or 4 years, especially once COVID hit, because it was just easy and she was homeschooled and stuff. But So there's, I mean, there's a big part that's going to miss out on quite a bit of, life
family,
history, family stuff. I mean, his mom's getting up there, and of course we want to be here for every second of, her lifetime and different moments and stuff like that. But
it's like we might be on a boat, but we're not off the planet.
Right.
You know, it might take us another extra day or two to get to a port to somewhere. To if I would have to fly back up here, it might take a little longer than if we weren't on a boat, but we're still on the planet. Unfortunately, we don't have a spaceship. So you
got a boat.
But, and that's what people think. You're getting on a boat and you're taking off. It's like, oh, we'll never see you again. It's like we're on the planet still. It just take us a little longer to get back to where you are. See you is all. And it's not that big of a thing. We're just on this planet still.
And just for the record, I tried, man. I'm like, you can come with us. You should just take a year off and come with us. And she's like, yep, boat's not for me, Mom. I love you. Have fun. I'm like, okay. Yeah. I'm like, if my mom had done that when I was her age, I'd have been there in, a heartbeat. But she's very... I want to make money. I want to start my life, and I totally get that. So
cool. I hear you on this one. I feel you on this one because we've got. Well, Sayo has a daughter from a previous marriage that I've known for her entire life, and it's the same deal with us. She's 12 now, and it was that decision of how do we make that work. And I think you just got to come to a place. For me, we just had to come to a place where it was like. I think this is what I believe, that the most important thing is to live your life. You cannot live your life for your kids or for your parents or for any other family member or friends. Like it's just in the end going to create a resentment. You're all going to be unhappy. Yeah. And if you do what's right for you, it might create this tension or some emotions and things. But if it's right for you, I trust that it's right for everybody. That's my position on it. But,
we got a little bit of that. We got a little bit of that.
A little kickback
from friends and stuff saying, well, you can't leave your mothers up here. I said, well, I can't stay up here and wait wait for my mother to pass away. I'm not going to pause
my life so that...
And if she does pass away, like I said, I'm still on the planet. It does take me a little longer to get up here.
Yeah.
And I have a brother that lives in California. He's not that far away.
Yep.
So, we're all taken care of. We're good.
And that's not an easy decision to make either. And I think it's another one that requires a little bit of courage to be like, you know what, I'm doing what's right for me, and you guys can have your opinions and go pound some sand.
Yeah, you get a lot of people telling you can't do this, you can't do that. That's on a boat. You can't. You're gonna drown. You're gonna even some people in the boating community that we were talking to were saying, your catamaran's going to break in half and it's going to flip over. And
I'm not joking.
Really?
It was the day that we signed on the dotted line, and dude was like, well, I've seen catamarans break in half in 20 and 30 foot waves. And I'm like, why would you say that to someone?
I think honestly though, I think the bigger picture there, because I hear this from time to time. I mean that's this conversation around naysayers, right? And they're everywhere, especially when you do something that a lot of people want to do and nobody ever really does. Then they come out of the woodwork.
There's a couple of our friends that are totally stoked and they can't believe that we're doing it. They're like, we can't believe you.
We have lots of friends that are super proud and like really excited and really want to come sailing with us. Like once we get our feet wet and are confident, and everybody's excited about the fact that we're taking a little piece of Fairbanks with us on our trip. So
cool. So
I think that's cool.
Can you tell me how were your expectations before you set out and what you thought about the cruising life, and how those have maybe shifted around the reality of what things are actually like and the reality of what you experienced, both taking the course with us and then the reality of actually doing it yourselves, what the changes are, the shifts were through that, if that makes sense.
I'm trying to think back to like our first boat buying experience that we didn't qualify for financing, which was a good thing because we were going to get a monohull, and we were all in the Delos thing. We did a bunch of research on the Amel Maramu boats,
We fell in love
and
with
we
those
found
boats.
one, and we just jumped on the plane and went for it to go buy it. And turns out through the survey that there was some funkiness with the where the owner got the boat in Turkey, and there were something
Like
wrong
the hull
with
number.
the HIN number had been altered or
It
something.
had been scraped off where it was originally supposed to be.
And they said it was from paint or something, and
they put it somewhere else.
And the number didn't match the years that the boat were made, and it was all kind of funky and everything. And our surveyor said, "I'd buy this boat in a heartbeat. Yeah, it's a great boat." And we went. We almost pulled the trigger on it, but it fell through, and it worked out better in the long run.
In the end.
And then we ended up finding another Super Maramu in Carousel when we were vacationing.
It was in Aruba, yeah.
And we were vacationing in St. Lucia, and we almost pulled the trigger on that, and we met this broker guy who was selling the boat, and we found out something about that boat from a previous surveyor guy that said you shouldn't buy this boat. There were some problems with it. And so we had to back out of the deal, and we felt really bad.
Because we really liked the broker.
We really wanted the boat. We really liked the broker. He was a really cool guy. And that was our second attempt, and it was kind of, well, you know.
So we backed off. We quit looking and just took a break and sat back for about 6 months to almost a year, I think. And we decided that we would start shopping around again this December.
For a catamaran.
For a cat. and we wanted to do the whole adventure cat, you know, the expedition, all set out and ready to rock and roll. And we thought once we bought the boat that we'd have to add a bunch of stuff to it to do that and retrofit and do, you know, so we were ready for all of that. And
your chorus really helped us about narrowing down the search for the boat, because you want an older boat that was built, you know, very hardy, like they did back in the day. They don't do them as the fiberglass isn't as thick as it was back in the day.
And we totally searched for that from 98 to 2008 and put all the specs in that. That's part of how we found the boat that we found,
right?
Was because we followed all the guidelines and stuff.
Cool.
And as of December, I started looking around, and about 2 weeks in, just blammo. And I'm like, "Hey, Darren, I think I found our boat." And he came down and sat and looked at it, and it was just everything. It was all the solar, all the lithium, 2 refrigerators, an extra cooler that you could use as a freezer. It was already set up with a rain catchment system. I mean, like it couldn't
water
have been
maker, everything.
It couldn't have been set up in a better way. The davit system is really cool. They were originally not planning on selling the dinghy with it at all, as well as the other like freezer cooler thing. They had made other arrangements to sell that, and that fell through too. So we ended up with the dinghy and the cooler. Everything. I have this huge, everything happens for a reason, and I know it's cliche, but it totally does. And everything, just the stars were in the right alignment, and it worked. And it ended up being that the broker that we loved so much from Aruba was the one selling this boat for the couple that had owned it, and the couple was from Cape Town. So when I looked at the broker, I'm like, oh no. Crap. I'm like, it's Tony. I'm like, we haven't talked to him since we backed out of that deal, and I felt so bad, but I'm like, I'm not going to let that stop me from getting my dream boat. So I'll go ahead and call him and we'll start the chit chat. And we had a great time. He stayed on the boat and was with us the entire time through the buying process and all of it. And it was fabulous.
Yeah, and we had actually, when we started looking for a catamaran, and we decided not to go with the monohull, and it was basically just because it's got more room. Okay. You don't have the side-to-side wobble as much as you do on a cat, and we saw other cats that were out there that were way less expensive than what we bought our boat for, that were leopards and fell inside their guidelines, but a lot of them had a lot of work that needed to be done on them. And we would have ended up buying the same boat and having to put just as much money into it to bring it up to what we wanted as the boat that she found.
Yeah.
Right.
So it totally worked out perfect.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you on there. So it sounds like you found a diamond in the rough, which is and I think that the key, you mentioned the key in that, to finding that, which was you had a very defined search parameter of what you were looking for. And when you have that, that's when, because those boats don't pop up all the time, and when they do, they sell pretty quick normally because they're good.
And I think there was a guy actually had an offer on the boat, and
I think there were 2 offers.
His financing fell through when we had a cash offer, and we just like snuck right in there.
And there were people lined up behind us. There were like 3 or 4 different offers.
It's a good boat.
And that was another thing that made me ready to pull the trigger, because there are people out there, like 4 or 5 people that want this boat. So I know that if it doesn't work out for us, they're going to be looking for this boat. Yeah. We could sell it to them.
And we almost lost it. Like, I was ready to have a heart attack. Tony called me, and we had signed an extension, right? Because it was like Christmas, holidays, and the couple that owned the boat were on holiday as well. So once we had signed the contract to extend our contract, they hadn't seen it yet because they were still on holiday. So it expired, and they thought that we weren't going to pick up the pieces when we totally had. It was a little bit Tony, it was a little bit us. Like, all of us were like, well, it's Christmas, it's holidays. You know, we weren't thinking they were going to jump on a different offer, but they were real close. Wow. And we like slid back under, and we're like,
we almost lost
no, what are you talking about? We're totally still all in. Don't sell it to anybody else. What do you know? Yeah. So it kind of got hairy there for a minute, but
glad it worked out.
Once they realized we were back on track, it was fine.
What you alluded to this? What was the big change, the big thing that catalyzed your decision to move from the monohull to the catamaran? And are you happy with the decision?
Just the stability, I think. I mean, overall room and just the stability of the boat.
I'm assuming the decision came from you, Darren, not from Morgan.
Well, actually, it was a friend of ours who kind of turned us on to the whole sailing thing, and he was going to be like our first mate, our IT guy. And he went to Boston with me to look at the first boat that we were going to buy, and he kind of, after we did all that and it all fell through, he just kind of said, "You should look at catamarans, because catamarans are really cool too."
And we were thinking he was crazy.
Yeah, we're going like, that's too big. It costs twice as much. You got 2 motors.
And I'm like, I really want to sail. Like, I want sail. Like, I want to be able to feel the wind and be able to, like, you know, heel over. And I want all of that. And then eventually we're sitting one night, and Darren's like, you know, I'm not getting any younger. It might not be a bad idea to look at some catamarans. And I'm like, they're a lot more expensive. Are you sure? And then, you know, after all was said and done, I'm sold too. So. And
you said you ended up getting it for around the same price of what you would have paid for the amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yep. We were in the right place at the right time. The owners of the boat we bought found a repossessed boat in South Africa.
Yeah, they're in Cape Horn.
It was a repossessed by the government because it was a drug boat, apparently.
Okay.
A 60-foot Lexus, and they needed to unload their boat fast, and they left everything on the boat. It's got
I can see why.
It's got linens and it's linens and silverware plates.
That boat that they bought is gorgeous.
That's the ultimate. Yeah. It's the ultimate diamond in the rough cruising boat. They didn't build very many of them, and if you ever find one for sale, send it to me.
When our broker went with us on the sale, he was just livid about this boat. He's like, "I love this boat. I want this boat when I retire." And he was like telling people, "I want to race you," because
he kept trying to race. He wanted to race everybody in the marina.
It's always a race, yeah. And he was like, "I know people who've got a boat that's supposedly newer than this, and blah blah blah, and this boat would kick their ass."
Yeah.
And he was just having a great old time. So
it was fun.
Very good.
You know.
Very cool. Very,
It's a
very
good
cool.
deal.
Amazing. So you guys you've got the boat, you've been on the boat, you got it bought. So what are the plans? What are you going to do?
So, I mean, our plan, we have to go back down and do some classes, obviously, for insurance purposes, to be able to sail it ourselves by ourselves. But I'm thinking, 2-3 weeks. I want to stay in the Caribbean for probably the next year or so, just to get our feet wet and to be able to pop around and like adventure and explore a little bit in the Caribbean. My main goal is to hit Indonesia. I want to go study food there really badly. I want to do a cooking show. I'm going to start in Grenada just because we got really lucky and found a cool restaurant that is willing to teach us how to make what they call oil down, which is their national dish. But I want to explore and show new fun foods and be able to take people diving and be able to show people what I love so much about the ocean and new spices, new foods, new fun, ways to cook and whatnot. So that's one of the reasons we wanted a galley up as well. Like that was one of the boxes that the Leopard checked big time.
I'm gonna show you how to play musical instruments underwater.
Underwater. Are you? There is.
We're gonna bring as much musical instruments that we can that we don't care to get destroyed. We're putting a few of my choice items away at storage, so in case we come back. And we'll see how everything fares. So if we come your way, we're going to have a little PA system and guitars and everything. And
you'll hear us before you see us.
You'll hear us coming.
I'll come play with you guys. That'd be super fun.
Right? So we can play in some nightclubs somewhere.
Yeah. That's rad. There is a bit of a music scene. A bit if you find the right kind of boats to sail with. There's people that play. We used to do all the time. A lot in Fiji. We would have 2 or 3 times a week jam night on my boat. People would come over, bring acoustic guitars. Awesome. We had a little PA with a mic too, and a little keyboard, and and I had my bass and an amp. So just got to find the right people. Yeah, that's super fun. Super fun. Remember one Christmas we had my friend Franz, his wife Sylvia, a couple other friends, their kids, and we just played music all night. It was like Christmas Eve or something. It was super fun. So
cool.
Yeah. Well, Indonesia's a long way, but you'll get there if you keep going.
We're in no worries.
No rush. Yeah, that's the thing. No rush. No rush
doing all that planning. And we got to get there by noon on Friday. It's like, no, we don't have to go anywhere anytime soon, so we're in no hurry to go.
We can just provision up and call it good. To be able to have the time to do that kind of filming and research and stuff.
And dive on your own.
Yeah, and go diving on your own?
Mm.
What? Yes, please. So
I mean, that's it, right? That's the freedom. The freedom to...
The last time we went diving, it was post-COVID, and they were trying to make up for lost time. And I think there were maybe 10 or 15 people on a dive boat, and it was just too many people. And
I think it was more than 15.
Too much of a rush to get us in the water and get us out, and do it the next day. And it wasn't very fun. It was okay. It was diving. Of course, it was fun, but.
I had like my daughter and her best friend were with us on that trip, and it was my daughter's first dive trip.
Yeah.
Like it was the first time she'd actually gone, and she enjoyed it and loved it. But I can remember at the very end of the dive master, whacking on his tank, and I turned around to look at him, and he's like looking at me, and he's like, "You take both girls to do the 3-minute stop," and I was like, I have no watch. I have no, I don't have any, I wasn't expecting to have to do this. Okay. But I was totally wigged out, was not ready for that at all. And it was so crowded that he had too many people to deal with at one time. And I think one of the girls was a little low on air, so we needed to go up anyway. But it was interesting. I'll say that.
Amazing. So there's a compressor and tanks and stuff on the boat for you guys?
No.
There's not a compressor yet. That's the one thing that we're going to have to add. It does have dive tank like stainless steel racks for them. But yeah, we need a compressor, and some tanks gear. And some gear. Yeah.
Cool.
We got fins and snorkels and stuff like that. Spear gun, fishing poles. There were fishing poles on the boat. The guy left fishing poles on there. There's a couple of deep sea fishing reels on there, and all we need is a BCD and a tank.
Used.
And some fins.
My suggestion would be used. Yeah. Don't buy new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Same thing with the compressor, but get it all checked out.
Oh yeah.
So what? So 2 questions left. One is how one of the things that's a big theme for Keith and I right now is this idea of like expectations around each other, around what roles are, what the lifestyle is going to be for you, what you're going to get out of it. How has that changed for you, and how did that change, specifically in relation to our course? Before you took the course versus after taking the course, where you said that that kind of catalyzed you to make the decision. So how did the expectations change, if they did at all?
I don't think they changed. I think they may have developed a little bit. I mean, obviously he's the tech guru as far as like mechanically inclined and whatnot, but I don't want to not be a part of that. And I think I've always kind of wanted to be in the middle of everything and try and understand what makes things tick. And I want to be able to do it by myself too. I don't want him to have to do everything by himself, So I think that kind of goes together. And we've always said that we want to co-captain, but I think and maybe you can answer this question for me too. Like what the woman's like little brief that we did with your wife
Women's
was
workshop.
Awesome. And one of the things that we touched on, I want to say it was that day, was the fact that a lot of the foreign countries that you end up going to, maybe a woman doesn't want to take on the role of a captain because they're not going to think a woman is as capable as a man is, even though that's totally wrong. But I get that. And I can see where that would play a factor. So I mean, we've thought about both. I mean, we sail really good together, I think. Like, I'll probably be manning the helm for a while if he's like dropping anchor. I mean, it kind of takes 2 people to do a little bit of everything. And I don't know. We were learning from each other big time, even just how to tie fenders on. You know what I mean? Like, we were doing everything kind of together. So
yeah, teamwork.
Yeah, I mean, like,
and she'd tie the fender rods one way, and I'd do them another way, and we did it the same way. Just she would go over the top of the wire, and I would go under or something, and it was just like, well, so we talk to each other. How are you tying?
What are you doing? How are you doing? And so I don't know.
We figure out which way is the best, and we
go for it.
It's an evolving learning experience. I'll say that.
So is the whole boat. I mean, we had an RV.
Yeah,
that's kind of the adventuring thing. A couple of years ago, we thought like we had this money, and we thought let's buy an RV and go RVing around Alaska, and we did that for a couple of years, and it's boating life and living on an RV are really similar, and all the stoves and the ovens and the refrigerators and the plumbing and all that stuff. It's all really kind of similar, and so we've already experienced that kind of lifestyle. And it's a little bit. It's a little different on a boat. There's a few things you got to watch for, like using toilet paper and the plumbing and the stuff like that, and using water usage and stuff. But
and not falling out of bed.
And not falling overboard.
It's a lot easier to not fall out of bed on a catamaran than a monohull.
And living in close quarters like that. It's we've done it before, so. Yep. We'll probably be really good at it. It's no problem.
Cool. Amazing.
Like you say, if you need a privacy, just go down into your own little room and shut the door and stay in there.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Okay.
Or take a dinghy ride.
So what would you say, it's kind of a twofold question. What is your biggest takeaway from actually making this happen? Like, what's the biggest thing that you guys have realized about yourselves or your life or anything from actually now having gone through it and done it?
I'm going to say what she always tells me. She always says, the world is your oyster. She tells me that all the time. I'm thinking about doing this. She says, the world is your oyster. Do it.
And that's what I was going to say. Do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Do it. Like,
and
you're never going to know if it's right unless you try.
It's super exciting and super scary at the same time. And
Yep.
and there are a lot of memes that you see on Facebook and Instagram that if you're not living life and it's not exciting and scary,
if it doesn't scare you, then your dreams aren't big enough.
You're not doing it. Yeah.
And I am terrified, so we're good.
Yeah.
So if I can maybe paraphrase that, the world is your oyster thing. So you've got a sense of expansion in your life that like the world is.
We can go anywhere.
Yeah.
We can go anywhere we want. We don't have to rely on the streets or the traffic signals or the airplanes or anything. We could just pull up anchor, throw up sails, go wherever the hell we want.
That's a cool feeling.
And that's beautiful.
That's a super cool feeling.
And it's even being in a foreign country like Grenada or St. Lucia, anyway, the way everybody drives there, you come back to America and you got these traffic signals and everybody's stopping and no one's moving and no one knows how to drive and it drives you crazy. It's like you're in Grenada, you never stop. It's like all the way there.
So
it's beautiful.
The world has gotten bigger for you. It's expanded. There's more. What's possible is
And
we don't need roads,
and we don't have to. We don't have a deadline. We don't have to come back and be at our job on July 5th or whatever. We can just go wherever we want, whenever we want, and nothing's holding us back.
And see what happens.
Just go do it.
Cool. Okay. What would you say to anyone who is thinking of getting started in the blue water cruising life and is considering taking one of our programs?
100% do it.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, you're going to learn way more than you think you are, or than you think you will. And and you guys present everything in such a way that it's really organized. And I think that's what my brain liked so much. Like, you laid it all out in black and white and you take it through step by step, and it's a lot of psychology. And I love that side of life and counseling and being able to talk to one another in whatever your right way is and not, feel offended or downtrodden or, feel degraded or whatever. Like it's gonna hurt my heart to like pull into a marina and see somebody arguing on a boat. I want to be like, no, you're doing it wrong. Like, don't get mad at each other. Like, yell before you think you need to. And I don't know. They're just do it. I mean, you're gonna learn something, even if you don't decide to buy a boat, and you're gonna learn a lot about each other if you're a couple or a family, and a lot more about family dynamics. And just do it.
You break it all. You guys broke it all down. You laid it out in black and white. All the financials, all the facing your fears, all your relationships with your spouse.
Yep.
And the breakout rooms and getting to talk to everyone else who has the same kind of dream that you do, and talking to all those people in the breakout rooms and stuff like that. Totally great stuff. I mean, and I'm sure we'll end up meeting some of those people.
Yep.
And we'll probably meet you.
Especially if you're coming this way.
It might take us a year, but we'll get over there.
Very cool. Very, very cool, guys. That's an amazing place to wrap it up. Morgan and Darren, you guys are in Alaska now. It's been a real pleasure having you here and having this conversation. There's been some really cool topics that we've chatted about. It's been amazing. And I think, for anybody that's listening to this, you guys nailed it. Just do it. And do it to me means take a step. And if that step for you is to get some more information, to see if this is tangible or realistic for you, we've mentioned a few times, we've got the courses available, Confuse the Captain, as well as now Bluewater Cruising Fundamentals. And just ping us a message, send us an email, and we'd be happy to have a chat with you and get you guys out cruising. So thank you very much, guys.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if you guys have any questions for Morgan and Darren, you can drop them in the comments. Also, you can email them at cruisingraven@gmail.com. And stay tuned to the description area, because when they get a YouTube channel, if you want to see how they're living the life, we'll drop the link there and you can check them out there. So thanks very much, guys. It's great to have you on.
Thank you, Chris.